Hi, everybody. Welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. We're revisiting my new spreadsheet called Quotes, False Prophecies, and Visions, where I have two so far. The first one is that vision that is usually attributed to John Taylor, but it's really unknown who put this together. But Joseph Fielding Smith and Joseph F. Smith both said that it's a false prophecy. It's not real. And no, it wasn't just saying that they didn't have that prophecy. The fact is that it's not a true prophecy. Although it's found in the Journal of Wilford Woodruff, but it's because he worked in like the church historian's office. He came across this mysterious document and he copied it down, seemingly with the intent to find out who wrote it. But you can see right here, he left this part blank because he didn't know who wrote it. But it's false. The other one is the yellow dog prophecy. This has come up a number of times on the channel, but only now am I doing my due diligence trying to find the original source for it so I can, fill out my spreadsheet here. So in column B, I have the account, the supposed vision or prophecy or whatever it is. And then to the right, I have the things that, the quotes that debunk whatever it is. Okay, so we're going to be looking at what was actually said in the prophecy, where you can find that. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the times of the Gentiles because that comes up as we read this. Okay, so what we got to do is go to conference report. The reason why is because if you go here, it tells you, excuse me, it tells that you can find the yellow dog prophecy in this book called Prophetic Sayings of Heber C. Kimball to Sister Amanda H. Wilcox. And I have not been able to find that anywhere, at least not online. So I'd probably have to get like a physical copy of it. But it does seem, based on what's quoted in this Ensign article, like this part right here, based on what's quoted, I think that it was quoted more fully in this talk by J. Golding Kimball of the 70 in his general conference talk. So, okay, so we're looking at, this is the October 1930 General Conference, and we're going to page 59. Again, this is Elder J. Golding Kimball of the 70. Okay. All right. So he says, let me zoom in a little bit more. He says, I claim not to be a prophet, but I am a son of a prophet. It's like Heber C. Kimball, I guess, was his dad. And I expect to give you evidence, whether you question the truth of it or not, that shall be left with you, that Heber C. Kimball was a prophet of God. President Brigham Young, on more than one occasion, said, Heber is my prophet, and I love to hear him prophesy. In May 1868, that is 62 years ago, he said, after a while, the Gentiles will gather in Salt Lake City by the thousands, and this will be among the wicked cities of the world. That has been fulfilled for sure. Salt Lake, there's a lot of good, but there's a lot of bad there. I lived in the Salt Lake Valley until I was 28, and I can't assume it's gotten any better. All right, continuing, he said, a spirit of speculation and extravagance will take possession of the saints, and the results will be financial bondage. Yeah. Yep, that's one of the top concerns of the church right now. He said, an army of elders will be sent to the four quarters of the earth to search out the righteous and warn the wicked of coming events. All kinds of religions will be started and miracles performed that will deceive the very elect, if such a thing were possible. Well, after doing this YouTube channel, that's not hard for me to believe. Some of the things that people just go after with little or no evidence, it's just exciting, and they'll believe whatever. Continuing, persecution comes next, and all Latter-day Saints will be tested to the limit. Many will apostatize, and others will stand still, not knowing what to do. Before the temple reaches the square, our brethren will be imprisoned until the penitentiary shall be full, and some of them will be removed to other penitentiaries. I think that's in reference to those that were arrested and imprisoned for polygamy. I have ancestors that were arrested for that. All right, continuing. Mothers would weep for their husbands, and children would cry for their fathers. Some would die, and sorrow would fill the hearts of the Latter-day Saints. When the temple roof is on, the persecution will lessen, but when the temple is completed, the power of the evil one will be shut out. The prayers of the saints will then be heard, the sick will be taken there and healed, the Spirit of God will rest upon the people, and work for the dead will be continued night and day. The judgments of God will be poured out upon the wicked to the extent that our elders from far and near will be called home, or in other words, the gospel will be taken from the Gentiles, and later on it will be carried to the Jews. Let me just highlight this part. We're going to visit that because I've done a whole playlist. I should have pulled it up. I've done a whole playlist on the times of the Gentiles, and I don't believe what's being said here is correct. I'll explain why in just a minute. So, playlist, and then I got, here it is, times of the Gentiles. It's worth a watch. It's comprehensive. It goes through everything methodically and with good sources. All right, but anyway, continuing with this. So after talking about the times of the Gentiles, the western boundaries of the state of Missouri will be swept so clean of its inhabitants that, as President Young tells us, okay, so this is Heber C. Kimball quoting President Young, supposedly, when we return to that place, there will not be as much as a yellow dog to wag his tail. Before that day comes, however, the saints will be put to the test that will try the very best of them. The pressure will come so great that the righteous among us will cry unto the Lord day and night until deliverance comes. And I feel like that's actually true right now. I hear it from you all the time in the comments, and I say it myself in these videos that we're so sick of this world and wish it would just end. And when I say end, I mean the millennium start and Christ be here and be living in a more righteous world. Okay, so you'll notice that the text here is in a smaller font and it's in quotations. So I do believe that he's reading out of this book that I was just talking about. One more time, that's Prophetic Sayings of Heber C. Kimball to Sister Amanda H. Wilcox. Okay, so let's just remind ourselves what was published in the Ensign about this. The church has been trying to squash this. There's people that think that this has to happen. They're waiting for this to happen before the second coming can happen. Okay, this is not correct. Okay, so this is in the April 1979 Ensign, and it's kind of like a Missouri-themed Ensign or issue. And the name of this article is Missouri Myths, and there's 3 of them. One is that the entire church is going to be gathered to Jackson County. No, that's not going to happen. I have an entire spreadsheet called Quotes, Common Misconceptions. It's this one right here, where I have quote after quote after quote that denies that. But people still believe it. The other one is that we're going to walk to Missouri. And then myth number 3 is, but won't there be immense destructions in Missouri preceding the second coming, so extensive that not a yellow dog will be left to wag his tail? It's true that destruction throughout the earth is one of the conditions prior to the second coming. Yet, as far as destruction in Missouri is concerned, there are 2 schools of thought among members. One believes that it has already taken place. Elder B.H. Roberts published a reported prophecy of Joseph Smith. I point that out because in the yellow dog prophecy that we just read from Elder J. Golding Kimball, he said that his father, Heber C. Kimball, heard it from Brigham Young. But here, so this is a prophecy from Joseph Smith. Elder B.H. Roberts published a reported prophecy of Joseph Smith to Alexander Donovan, his lawyer in Missouri. According to Donovan's brother-in-law, writing the incident over 70 years after it occurred, Joseph Smith warned Donovan that, quote, God's wrath hangs over Jackson County, and you will live to see the day when it will be visited by fire and sword. The fields and farms and houses will be destroyed, and only the chimneys will be left to mark their desolation. End quote. General Donovan said to me, his brother-in-law continued, that the devastation of Jackson County during the Civil War forcibly reminded him of this remarkable prediction. End quote. Elder Roberts cites additional descriptions of Jackson County's role during the Civil War as fulfillment of this prophecy. See Comprehensive History of the Church, Volume 1, pages 538 to 539. Okay, so you have that prophecy of Joseph Smith to his lawyer having to do with Jackson County because the saints were driven out. And I've recently done videos about the Civil War and how it was essentially a punishment on the United States for what happened to the saints. The Lord helped the United States become a country so that the church could be restored. Once it was restored, the United States, the people of the United States at that time, were not very hospitable toward the saints. They drove them out, they killed them, they persecuted them, and so that's why the Civil War happened. The Lord allowed that to happen as a punishment. Okay? And so it's fitting that in the very place where New Jerusalem was supposed to be built, the city of Zion, that you would have, this particular devastation happen there after what just happened there to the saints. It makes sense. Okay, continuing. The other school of thought on the so-called yellow dog prophecy is that some members feel it is yet to occur. However, a study of the supposed source of the prophecy is helpful. It seems to have originated in a conversation between Heber C. Kimball and Amanda H. Wilcox in Salt Lake City in May 1868. She reports him as saying, "The western boundaries of the state of Missouri will be swept so clean of its inhabitants that, as Brigham Young tells us, when we return to that place, there will not be left so much as a yellow dog to wag his tail." So this prophecy supposedly went like this. Brigham Young told it to Heber C. Kimball. Heber C. Kimball told it to Amanda H. Wilcox. Okay. And then it got into this book. Continuing. There seem to be a number of questions about the authenticity of this account since Heber C. Kimball was apparently in Provo, not Salt Lake, during the month of May. Also, no other record exists of Brigham Young making a similar statement. However, it is sufficiently similar to Joseph Smith's statements, except for the yellow dog, that someone may have remembered the original substance, but in the retelling allowed embellishment to creep in. So that's a problem too. The fact that there's no other source for this prophecy. It's what Amanda H. Wilcox said she heard Heber C. Kimball say that he heard Brigham Young say. And yet, this makes the rounds and it persists. I think it's simply because it's really easy to remember yellow dog. Like it sticks in your head. And so, because I'm not saying that you're lazy if you believe this, but we tend to go with whatever is easier, right? The path of the least resistance. And so if you have something very simple like this and it's dramatic, oh yeah, the Kansas City area is going to be destroyed. There's not even going to be a yellow dog. In that way, we're going to be able to rebuild the city of Zion, New Jerusalem. It's just like it's easy. It's easy to remember. But it's a myth. That's why they put it with these 3 myths about Missouri in this Ensign article. Okay. All right. So now I have one account at least, and it seems like it came from that book. So this was said in General Conference, seems to be quoting that book. And then let's just talk about the times of the Gentiles really quick. Let's go back to here. It'll be easier here. The judgments of God will be poured out upon the wicked to the extent that our elders from far and near will be called home. Or in other words, the gospel will be taken from the Gentiles and later on will be carried to the Jews. This is another, it depends on exactly what he's communicating there because some of it is a little bit vague. You can take it a couple different ways. The correct way would be, yeah, there's general rejection of the gospel. I don't think that the elders are going to be called home. That might be something I have to look into, but I don't believe that that's going to happen. I haven't seen anything to back that up. There's this, but as far as when the gospel goes to the Jews, you could read this and say, well, it seems like that's going to happen before the second coming, or because it's not really specified, it could happen after the second coming. And if we go to my spreadsheet called Quotes A through Z, currently on row 433, I'll show you what I have in regards to the times of the Gentiles. Like I said, you can also watch my playlist. Each video is pretty short. It's pretty simple, but let me just go over some of the key quotes. So first, let's go to Brigham Young. So I have all the scriptures right here. Okay. So this is all in chronological order. The older quotes in scriptures are to the right, more recent ones to the left. But let's read this one by President Brigham Young. This is in Journal of Discourses, Volume 2, pages 141 to 142. I'm not going to read the entire thing. All that we need for this video is in this first paragraph. Jerusalem is not going to be redeemed by our going there and preaching to the inhabitants. Okay? And that's one thing to point out. Jews live throughout the world. The gospel has been taken to them. We have Jews that have converted and joined the church. So I think a lot of times people, when they think about the gospel going to the Jews, they specifically think about missionary work, like proselyting missions in the modern nation state of Israel. But Brigham Young, Jerusalem is not going to be redeemed by our going there and preaching to the inhabitants. It will be redeemed by the high hand of the Almighty. Okay, and then Elder Bruce R. McConkie of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. This is The Millennial Messiah, the Second Coming of the Son of Man, pages 247 to 249. I'm just going to read part of this. With this introduction, we are back to the general subject of the latter-day gathering of Israel into the specific passage in Isaiah that is to find fulfillment in the millennium. This is Isaiah 52, 8 through 10, which Jesus will soon quote again. But first, in this setting among the Nephites, our Lord says, and then, that is, in the millennial day, shall the remnants which shall be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth be gathered in from the east and from the west and from the south and from the north, and they shall be brought to the knowledge of their Lord, the Lord their God, who hath redeemed them. Israel shall be gathered in part before the millennium, and that gathering is now going forward apace, with particular reference to Ephraim, the firstborn, and Manasseh, his twin. But Israel shall be gathered in full after the millennium commences, and that gathering will include the Jews, and as we are about to see, the 10 tribes. A little later, Jesus speaks of the Gentiles and the Jews and places the Jewish gathering after his second coming. And then later, the Jews shall dwell again in Jerusalem of old, and in all Judea, and in all Palestine. And it shall come to pass that the time cometh when the fullness of my gospel shall be preached unto them, and they shall believe in me, that I am Jesus Christ, the Son of God, and shall pray unto the Father in my name. Okay, so that's all that I have for this one. I'm going to continue to search for, different prophecies or visions that are potentially false, or if they're true. Either way, I'll record them. Right now, I'm particularly interested in any visions or prophecies that have to do with the destruction of America, the cleansing of America. But yeah, I'll just keep working on these spreadsheets. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.